Good evening and welcome back to these reflections. Thanks for your feedback and your responses to them, to the reflections, and please continue to send in suggestions for worship videos that we could post on Facebook, for hymns or songs that would bless others too. And please continue to look after yourselves and keep in touch with each other as well. So a friend from Florida who is listening to lots of these kind of videos and reflections, including mine, commented that it would be great to have something a little light-hearted in them too. So taking that on board, because we all need those pressure valve releases, as I was saying before, I'm going to introduce for this week, and we will see how it's received, a joke of the day, and a trivia question that we'll answer in the following reflection. Fair enough? Well, I didn't hear any objections, so I'll take that as a yes. So, the trivia question for answer tomorrow. How many balls are used in English billiards? How many balls are used in English billiards? You can text me if you really like, but to be honest, the answer is going to be given to you tomorrow, so you'll find out then. Try not to use Google. Yeah. Anyway, and for the jokes, I am using a pack of dad jokes that I was given a while ago, so don't be expecting too much. So here goes. How do you make a gold cake? Put 24 carats in it. I can hear the wind blowing. I'm already second guessing this move. Anyway, let's move quickly on and hopefully no one will notice that. If you are on social media at all, you will no doubt have seen plenty of verses, prayers and thoughts to encourage us through these days. One of the Psalms that kept on coming up certainly a couple of weeks ago, and I think still doing the rounds, is Psalm 91. And so I want to spend this week looking at it. It'll not be a full investigation of the Psalm, but hopefully the reflections will provide some insight, maybe even point out things that hadn't been seen or considered before. Who knows? But it's probably maybe a good time for you to pause the video now if you are still listening to it after the joke, to go and grab a Bible for yourself so you can look at the Psalm as we look at it together. So, the psalmist begins by addressing God with 4 different names. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High, 1. Will rest in the shadow of the Almighty, 2. I will say of the Lord, 3. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, 4. In whom I trust. What an opening. This isn't just the translators being creative and using various names for God to add colour to the text. These are 4 separate Hebrew words that express the majesty and supremacy of our God. These titles of God set the psalm up in many ways for us as they remind us of the nature and character of God, the one in whom the psalmist puts his trust. These titles make it all the more possible to respond to the psalmist's calls for us to also trust him. For God is no small God, no half-measure God. He is one, the Most High, Elyon in the Hebrew. That is higher than any earthly powers and heavenly beings. If you want to call on someone to come to your aid, God is the highest authority, not just in the land, but in all creation. God is the Most High. He is too Almighty, that is Shaddai. So not just that God is mighty, but almighty, that he is the measure by which all other power and might is compared. He is the supreme power in all creation. God is almighty. He is 3, the Lord Yahweh. That special name he told to Moses at Sinai in the burning bush. He is the I am, the one who eternally exists with no being or no beginning or end, and no one can fathom. God is the Lord, and he is 4, God, Elohim. But not just God. The psalmist says, he is my God. Now, after calling him Lord and Almighty and Most High, so powerful and eternal and supreme, you might think that he's distant, but no, the psalmist says he is my God, personal, intimate, not just the God of the big stuff, but the God of the psalmist, of the individual, one person. God is my God. These names of God, this description of his nature and character, tells us who the guarantor of the promises made in the verses that follow is, and so make them all make the psalmist urge for us all to trust God all the more compelling. And he didn't just rhyme off names, but he gave expression to what it is like to trust in God, like dwelling in his shelter, like rest in his shadow. Maybe you have a place where you just feel at peace. Maybe you have people that make you feel that way. When they walk into the room, you kind of feel, oh, it's going to be okay now. That's what the psalmist is saying, that trusting God is like a refuge and fortress, a place of safety and security, where there is peace and rest in his shadow. Over the years, I think shadows have had some bad press because they are synonymous as places where people lurk. And lurking is not a positive pastime. On a job application form, you wouldn't include under the hobbies and pastimes section reading, fishing, knitting, lurking. It wouldn't be something that you would want to say to people that you like doing from time to time. Ooh, like a little bit of lurking. Shadows aren't just places for lurking. They're also places of shelter from the sun or rain. Shadows are places for hiding when we are scared or in danger. And we are only ever in a shadow when we are close to the shadow maker. We only find ourselves in the shadow of trees when we are near trees. We only find ourselves in the shadow of houses when we are near houses, or the shadow of a person when we are near them. We only find that we are in the shadow of the Almighty when we draw near to the Almighty and are dwelling in his shelter. So if we are in his shadow, we are near him and we find rest. In his shadow there is no need to fear, for my God, the Lord Almighty Most High, has hidden me. In his shadow I am confident that he is near, so I will rest. Let's pray. Our God, the Lord Almighty and Most High, may we dwell in your shelter and rest in your shadow. Be our refuge and our fortress. We trust you. When we are far from you, bring us back under your shadow of rest. When we are worried and frightened, soothe our souls with the assurance of your shelter. God, the Lord Almighty Most High, help us to trust you for all that you are and all that you will be. And, O Lord, my God, how majestic is your name in all the earth.